one of the most successful family, angiosperms. And this family is the family Asteraceae. Now, previously, this family was known as a family Compositae because it was having the composite inflorescence or composite flower. Now, when we are talking about the Asteraceae, at that time we have to again consider that this family is showing lot of ecological variations, but the only same character or only the deserving character is its floral nature, floral architecture. And the beauty and the success of this family is because of its floral architecture. That's why this family has become the most successful. Now, to go with, this is one of the largest family in the world, which is having almost more than 1,000 genera. The present number is 960 genera, and obviously it is having 20,000 species distributed all over the world. That is, it is cosmopolitan, and it is present in almost all habitats. So the plants are found in the grassland, they are found in the tropical forest, they are found in temperate forest, they are present in the marshy areas. Even these plants are found in deserts also. So even all ecological areas, they are also covered in this family. And obviously because of the large number, this family comprises almost 10% of the total flora of flowering plants. So this number is much more bigger and larger. As far as India is concerned, it is having 138 genera and almost 700 plus species. Obviously the important genera which are present around us, including Maharashtra, is Lactuca, Carthamus. Carthamus is nothing but करडई, सगळ्यांना माहिती आहे. Hydrangeas म्हणजे झेंडू, Helianthus म्हणजे सूर्यफूल, Bidens pallosa, wheat, Vernonia is a common wheat, Parazacum, ज्याला आपण दुधनी म्हणतो, Ageratum, which is present, even the Parthenium, which has been introduced to Maharashtra and India as well. So the plants are mostly, very few plants, they are economically important, but a large number of plants, they are growing as a wild plants or weed plants, and they are growing as a weed as well as wild plants. Now, as far as plants are concerned, generally these plants are herbaceous form. So they are either annual or perennial. If at all they are perennial, means they are having a perennial root stock. So the root is perennial, it is bulbous, it is fleshy, and because of that it is sprouting the new sprout or the new shoot every year. Obviously very few plants, they are either shrubs or very rare, again very rare, they are trees. So shrubs and trees, they are very rare, even though they are perennial. The plants, obviously they are hirsute, that is they are having the hairs, very minute hairs or glandular hairs on their surface. Very importantly, the plants are succulent. They contain a watery juice. So the plant, particularly the shoot parts, the stem, the petiole, the leaves, they are succulent in nature. So there is a presence of watery. In very rare cases, it is also containing the milky latex. So the latex may be watery or milky. The plants, because of their glandular nature and the hair trichomes, they are secreting the essential oils and sometimes tannins, polyphenols, and many other compounds. Generally, the plants are very strongly stinging aromatic. So it is badly smelling. So we can identify this rigorous smell of these plants. The plant's roots and stems, sometimes they are tuberous, they are fleshy, and they are the major mode of reproduction. That is vegetative reproduction. Now, let us go for some of the examples which we do know of this family. Helianthus anus, obviously it is nothing but the sunflower, which is the seeds are used for extraction of oil. Again, the Carthamus curdi, again the same plant where the seeds are used for the extraction of oil. Now, these are some of the weeds which are present around us. The Parthenium, Congress म्हणतो, Congress गवत म्हणतो. Then Bidens pallosa, another plant which is present around us. त्याच्यानंतर Ageratum, खाली लिहिलेलं आहे, it is also very common, which is present around us. Lagasca mollis, again, which is very common along the roadsides. So these are some of the very interesting plants. Now, if you see the right side, the Echinops echinopsis, it's a typical succulent plant. You can see the thorns which are present on the body. It is having a typical head type of inflorescence, terminal inflorescence. This plant is a weed almost found everywhere in the open terrain of Deccan Plateau. Similarly, we are having one more plant. Generally, this plant is found in the fields. The last one in the lower side, and it is Parazacum officinale. Also, it is called as a Pithri in Marathi. In rural areas, the leaves of this plant and the flowers of this plant, they are used for eating purposes. They are used as vegetable. Now, on other side, there are two plants which I have shown, which are very common in temperate region, and they are grown in the greenhouses. One is Zerbera. You are knowing that it is one of the most important plant in horticultural point of view. And then it is having the Lactuca sativa. Lactuca, it is called a salad. ज्याप्रमाणे आपल्याकडं पालक खातात किंवा ज्याप्रमाणे आपल्याकडे मेथी खातात कच्ची, कोबी खातात, त्याप्रमाणे परदेशामध्ये मात्र लॅक्टोका जो आहे हा खूप मोठ्या प्रमाणात खाल्ला जातो. इट इज यूज एज अ ग्रीन व्हेजिटेबल बिकॉज इट इज रिच अँड न्यूट्रिशियस. And these are some of the plants which are generally known as a garden plants. So this family is having a very much horticultural importance, because several plants, they are used for decorative purposes, in horticultural purposes. So you can see from the top, the zinnia is present at the center at the top, the dahlia is present. Then you can see towards the right side that gaillardia is present. खाली आपल्याला झेंडू दिसतो. At the center, you can see the cosmos, and then there is a sweet william, which is present, which has been shown. And the genus is Dicracium. So, as far as the asterisk is concerned, the leaves are exstipulate, they are sessile or petiolate. They may be having a sheathing leaf base, or they may be having a swollen leaf base. They are alternate. Very rarely the leaves are opposite or wood. They are simple or variously lobed or dissected. The leaves are succulent, as I told you. They are gland dotted, and because of these glands, the leaves are aromatic. So generally they are containing the glucosides and essential oils, and because of that the leaves are aromatic. Sometimes these are again medicinally important, but many of the times they are medicine important in a reverse way, that they are causing the irritations to our body. And that's why many of the times they are used as weeds, or they are considered as weeds. As far as the inflorescence is concerned, the primary inflorescence is a raceme or a terminal head or a capitulum. So a single flower, what we see as a single flower, it is an inflorescence, and this inflorescence itself is arranged in the raceme form or coriam form or head form. Either it generally they are terminal position, or sometimes they are in the lateral position or axillary position. Now each head, that is each inflorescence, is subtended in the involucre of foliaceous protective bracts. So the inflorescence is having its own protective mechanism, which is having a large number of bracts, which are large in size. They are leafy and they are protective, and that's why they are called as the leafy bracts. It's called as involucre of bracts. And the number of flowers, they do contain a receptacle on which the number of flowers are present. The beauty of this family is that the flowers are very small in size, and that's why a very large number, the n number of flowers are present. The flowers are present in hundreds. And as the flowers are small in size, they are called the florets. So the florets are arranged in a head, and they are vary from a few flowers to many flowers. Very rarely there is a single flower, but it is not very extremely rare condition. Generally many flowers are present or florets are present. The flowers open from the central axis in an acropetal succession. Now the shape of the receptacle on which the inflorescence is born, it is in the form of a flat, concave or convex or much more elongated And even sometimes it is cone-like. As the flower is concerned, individual, what we call as the floret. So the floret, it may be the individual flower is bracteate, obviously, it's having a small ligule at the base. The flowers may be bisexual or unisexual. So generally, when the flowers are unisexual, they are staminate flowers. Very rarely they are pistillary, they are male flowers. Very rarely they are female flowers. Or otherwise, the flowers are bisexual. The flowers are typically pentamerous. They are complete or incomplete. The flowers are epigynous, that the ovary is inferior, and the flowers are small in size. So they are inconspicuous. These flowers, the heads, they may be homogamous or heterogamous. That is, they are containing a similar type of florets, or the florets may be of two types. In homogamous, all the florets are alike, that is, all flowers are alike in structure and function. That is, they are very similar in morphology, as well as all are bisexual. So these are bisexual. Then in that case, it may be regular or irregular. That is, the perianth lobe may be regular or irregular. Heterogamous means when the florets are of two types. The best example is sunflower, where the peripheral flowers, they are generally sterile flowers. And they are called as sterile staminate flowers. Very rarely, even sometimes, we can have the pistillate flowers also along the margin. And these are very typically highly zygomorphic. So they are not regular flowers, but they are zygomorphic flowers. And that's why they are called as a ray floret. Ray means they are having a perianth which is elongated, petaloid, and it is bright in color. That's why it's called the ray floret. And then they are having the central actinomorphic bisexual fertile disc floret. Now we have studied the flower of sunflower in 12th standard. So once we do know the family, it's not necessary that I should remind you everything. You might have got the picture immediately in front of your eyes. So the central floret, they are regular, but they are bisexual, and these are called the disc floret. So within an inflorescence, we are having the two type of flowers, ray floret and disc floret. Ray florets are present towards the periphery, disc florets are present at the center. So the calyx sepals are 5, they are fused, they are connate, they are pappus, or they are hairy. I'm talking about the calyx now. And this calyx, generally, it is either pappus, pappus means papery, or it may be hairy in the form of small bristles, and it is valvate. The important character of this family is that the calyx is persistent in this family. So corolla, obviously petals are 5, they are fused, they are tubular, that is regular, or they are bilabiate, that is they are irregular, zygomorphic. So they are 2 plus 3 or 3 plus 2 combination of their lobes, petal lobes. They are either equal in size or unequal in size. Now you can see a structure of ALS of sunflower, which we have studied already. You can see the white bright side ray florets which are present towards the periphery, and then you can see a very flat receptacle at the bottom, and on which I'm talking about the left side of the image, and you can see the disc florets, which are very small disc florets, which are bisexual, which are arranged in an acrobatic succession. The same diagram has been described in a diagrammatic way towards the right side. So you can see the inflorescence, they are having the bracts, they are having a flat concave receptacle, the disc florets are present at the center, and the ray florets are present towards the periphery. And then you can see at the bottom what is shown as a white ovaries which are present. That's why the ovary is inferior in this case. Now in the top side you can see the ray floret which is having a irregular perianth lobe, and it is having a persistent sepals as a tubular form and a bract that generally is called the ligule individually. And then you can have the disc floret where you can have again a bract or a ligule, then the ovary, the sepals are present, the corolla is present in the form of a tubular corolla, and then in the center you can see the presence of anthers. So this diagram is just to give you the idea about the shape and size and function of the ray floret and disc floret. As far as the androecium is concerned, the stamens are generally 5. The stamens are free in the sense they are epipetalous and they are alternating with the coronal lobes. That is, epipetalous means they are attached. The filaments are attached to the corolla tube. The stamens are syngenesious. That is very important character. Syngenesious means here the filaments are free but the anthers are fused. So the anthers are fused to form a tube, and the tube is coming out of the floral disc floret. Obviously the anthers are dichicous. They are opening in rows and they are opening by the longitudinal slit. Sometimes the flowers are, or the anthers are included or they are exerted. They are coming out of the corolla tube. Now this androecium is very important because this androecium is attracting insects, and these insects, they are pollinating the style and stigma and the ovary in turn. As the gynoecium is concerned, the ovary is bicarpellaris in carpus. It is inferior, unilocular, that is one carpel is sterile. It is unilocular with a single basal anatropous ovule. So ovary is unilocular, it contains a single locule and a single ovule is present, that is a single seed is present. Obviously the style is present, which is thin, and the stigma is bifid. So style is present, which is single at the center, and the stigma is bifid. Again, the stigma is globose at the tip. As far as the fruit is concerned, it is an achene. So what is achene? The fruit is nothing but here the ovary wall and the calyx, they are fused together and they are not dispersing, they are not opening. So it's a closed fruit, and that's why it is called achene. It is compressed and it is containing the pappus hairy calyx, which is persistent. And the calyx is present at the top in the form of a crown. And that's why the fruit is very interesting, and that the fruit is called an achene because it is indehiscent and it is a compressed fruit. As far as the seeds are concerned, the plants are non-endospermic with the straight embryo. From physiological and biological point of view, the seeds are rich in carbohydrates, that is the seeds are starchy, or the seeds are rich in oil, or the seeds are oily. And because of that, many of the plants or many of the herbs, they are cultivated on a large scale for their edible oil. Now remember, the sunflower as well as the carthamus, they are producing the oil which is healthy to our body because it is containing the triglycerides which are responsible to synthesize the nutritive good cholesterol in our body. And this good cholesterol is keeping our blood clean. And because of that, the use of sunflower oil or carthamus oil in our daily diet is always preferable by the dietitians or the doctors. The pollination is very interesting and it is very successful because the flowers are very small and the pollination is entomophilous. So when an insect visits a flower, in other words, it is visiting an inflorescence. And so when a single insect visits a single flower, that is the head, it is pollinating hundreds of disc florets. And because of that, the success of this family lies in its effective mechanism of pollination. And because of this effective mechanism, the dispersal of the fruits and seeds, this particular family has become very successful. Now there is another important character which is hidden in this family, and that when the fertilization fails in this family, these plants or these reproductive bodies, they show the successful parthenocarpy. That is, when the disc florets do not get fertilized, then the egg cell itself becomes diploid and it develops into an embryo, which is a diploid embryo. And that's why this particular process, that when the egg cell is developing into an embryo without fertilization, it is called the parthenocarpy. Partheno means without fertilization. So the seed setting is taking place without fertilization. And that's why in many families, and the best example is Parthenium. In Parthenium, the successful fertilization is totally absent. But the parthenocarpy prevails and the seeds are set without any, obviously, pollination. There is another form, and that is called the apomixis. Apomixis means any cells apart from the embryo sac or any cells, other cells apart from the egg cell, they mix together. Even sometimes the nuclear cells, they behave themselves as a zygotic cell, and they start further developing and redeveloping and develop into a fertile seed. And that's why when the two cytoplasms of a female gametophyte, when they fuse together, this particular process is called the apomixis. And that's why in these families, what we can see is a successful fertilization, and along with the successful fertilization, also there is another mode, and this mode is nothing but apomixis. So a successful alternate pathway for the synthesis of seeds, either in the parthenocarpic pathway or apomixis pathway, this is leading to the success of this family. Also, there is a third point, that many of the times in the genera, in several genera or several species, the stem is underground and it is working as a runner, tuber, bulb or cob. The best example is chrysanthemum. And in many cases, the stem, when it touches to the ground, it produces the roots and automatically it continues growing further. The best example, again, I told you, it is a chrysanthemum. Also, the roots are tuberous and they are fleshy and they are also giving rise many buds. So, in this family, the vegetative propagation is also very successful. And because of these alternate reproductive mechanisms, because of the succulents, because of the high success rate of formation of seeds and obviously the pollination, this family is one of the most successful family in the world. At the same time, the seeds, they are dormant, and when the seeds germinate, they can survive in any adverse conditions. So as the seeds can survive in any adverse conditions because of the succulents, they can sustain the unfavorable condition and they can continue their growth further. And because of that, the particularly this Asteraceae family is one of the most successful family in angiosperms. Now this is the floral diagram we have drawn in 12th standard, where a twig is shown, the Syngenous stamens are shown, LS is shown, then you can see the ray florate and disc florate, and you can see the Syngenaceous anthers and bifid stigma, and below you can see the two floral diagrams, one for the ray florate and another is a disc florate. In the ray florate, you can see now this is a typical ray florate, which is not a staminate one, but it is a pistillate one, because here the stamens are absent, but at the center the ovary is present. And the right side lower image is nothing but the floral diagram of a disc florate, which is producing a single seed with a unilocular ovary having a basal placenta. Now this is again another example which we are using for the analysis, and this plant is Dagadi Pala. What you know, generally we are having this very common around us, and again we are having these details. So with this floral diagram, we have to go ahead and discuss the success of this family. The plants show dynamic plasticity and genetic elasticity for the successful survival. The plants show wide range of diversity in habitat. It also shows the vegetative and reproductive characters which are modified, and they are showing the diversity because of succulents. So on one side they may be fleshy, on other side they may be hirsute, On the third side, they may be regular. Succulent's hairy or hirsute nature is effective for the survival and protection under adverse conditions. The fertile florets, they are arranged on a flat receptacle in large number for successful pollination. The floral architecture is most suited for effective insect pollination because the flowers are very small in the form of florets, and a single insect, when it is visiting the head or the inflorescence, it is pollinating many small florets. It is having a very effective fruit and seed dispersal mechanism because of the agencies of wind, animal, birds, etc. So they are taking help of all these agents and vectors. Also, as I told you, the parthenocarpy, apomixis, cytomixis, vegetative propagation. Now, apomixis and cytomixis is something different. In apomixis, the cell cytoplasm of a single cell, after duplication of the genetic material, it behaves as a zygotic material. And from this, a single seed is formed. In cytomixis, the two neighboring cells, they behave as a gametes, and the walls dissolve and the two cytoplasms mix together along with the nuclei, and from these two vegetative nuclei, a sterile seed is produced, a sterile zygote is produced. Sorry, fertile zygote is produced, and that's why it's called the cytomixis. Vegetative propagation are the effective modes of regeneration if the sexual reproduction fails. And because of that, this particular family is highly successful in the world. And that's why it is comprising all over the world in very large amount with large quantities, and it is spreading in all seasons. As far as systematic position is concerned, obviously in the class of dicotyledony, now we have entered into the gamopetalae, where the petals are fused, and then it belongs to the series Inferi, where the ovary is inferior. Obviously the order is Asterales and the family is Asteraceae. Previously this family was placed with its synonymic name, and that name was family Compositae. In either in 12th standard you might have studied this family as a family Compositae. And then now in TYBSc, the same family we are supposed to repeat because of its high successful rate, and this is called as a family Asteraceae. So with this detailed discussion of this family, we are going to stop today. And I feel that if at all you are having your 12th standard notes, do repeat, do study again, and prepare yourself for this family. Tomorrow we are going to take a break. So tomorrow there will not be any lecture, but again we'll be gathering on Saturday. And on Saturday we'll be studying one more very interesting family, and the family will be family Apocynaceae. So Apocynaceae is a known family. As we know, a reference example of this family is the sunflower, which is an economically important plant. But another plant, another plant which is present around us is the Tridax procumbens. ज्याला आपण मराठीमध्ये दगडीपाला म्हणतो, आपल्या परिसरामध्ये सगळीकडे आपल्याला ते सापडतं. सो दगडीपाला हे खूप कॉमन आहे आणि त्यामुळे आपल्याला प्रॅक्टिकलला देखील ते वापरता येऊ शकतं. So with this, let us stop for the present. If you understood everything, report your presence in the chat box. If you have any doubts, do ask the question in the chat box. We will discuss, or otherwise we'll be meeting again on Saturday at 2 o'clock as our regular schedule. Wish you all the best. Have a great time.